A wrong text usually ends with an awkward apology. For Aisha Thompson, it ended with a war. The rain doesn't care that you're dying. It just keeps falling like the city has nothing to lose. Aisha pressed her spine against the brick wall behind Ming's diner. Her fingers so numb she could barely feel the phone she'd stolen 3 days ago. The kind of cold that makes your bones ache. The kind that reminds you exposure kills faster than hunger. Her hoodie was soaked through. Her shoes were 2 sizes too big. Every time she shifted her weight, her socks squelched, like she was walking inside her own misery. She'd been running for 48 hours. Officer Harker's cruiser had circled this block twice in the last 20 minutes. She'd counted. You learn to count when counting is the difference between breathing and bleeding out in some alley where they'll find you when the garbage trucks come Thursday. Harker wasn't supposed to be on nights. He used to work clean, predictable shifts. But predators don't keep schedules when they think they own you. The diner's back door was locked. She'd already tried. The dumpster reeked of rotting seafood and something sweeter, something dead. Her stomach had stopped growling hours ago. Now it just sat inside her like a stone, heavy and useless. She pulled out the phone, cracked screen, battery at 11%. One chance. The slip of paper in her pocket was dissolving from the rain, but she could still read the number. Safe, harbor, shelter. Someone had pressed it into her hand outside the library yesterday, back when she still thought there were places in this city that gave a damn. Her thumb hovered. This was stupid. Shelters asked questions. Questions meant names. Names meant records. Records meant Harker would know exactly where to find her. And if Harker found her, it wouldn't be a report this time. It would be a body. But the rain was getting harder, and the cold was getting meaner, and she could see her breath now thin, ghostly proof she was still alive. Aisha swallowed the fear like it was water. She typed, "Is there room tonight? I can't do another night out here." Send. The reply came in 40 seconds. Not the automated response she expected, not the chipper social worker script. Just 3 words that made her blood stop. "Where are you?" Aisha stared at the screen. That wasn't how shelters worked. They gave you addresses, forms, intake procedures. They didn't ask where you were like they were coming to get you. Her fingers shook as she typed, "Who is this?" The dots appeared immediately. Someone was typing fast. "You texted me. Now answer the question. Where are you?" Wrong number. Had to be. She'd copied it wrong, or the ink had smeared, or headlights swept across the mouth of the alley. Black SUV, tinted windows, engine idling like a heartbeat. Aisha's throat closed. That wasn't Harker. Harker drove a cruiser, solo, acting like the law gave him permission to be cruel. This was something else. Someone else. The phone buzzed in her hand. Aisha Thompson, 19. Reported missing by foster care 6 months ago. Last seen on surveillance near Jefferson and 5th 2 days ago. You ran from a cop. Now you're hiding. I'll ask one more time. Where are you? Her heart slammed against her ribs. He knew her name. The SUV's door opened. Slow. Deliberate. Aisha didn't think. She ran. The alley spit her into the street like a bullet from a chamber. Aisha's lungs burned. Her feet slapped wet pavement, no rhythm, just panic. Behind her, the black SUV's engine gunned to life, tires shrieking as it lurched forward. She didn't look back. Looking back got you killed. The street was industrial warehouses with shattered windows, chain-link fences crowned with razor wire, streetlights flickering like dying stars. No witnesses, no cameras, just concrete and darkness, and the sound of her own heartbeat trying to crack her ribs open. The SUV wasn't alone anymore. 2 more appeared from side streets, boxing her in, coordinated, professional. This wasn't Harker's sloppy desperation, this was something engineered. Aisha cut left, scrambling over a low fence, her palms shredding on rust and glass. She hit the ground hard, tasted blood, kept moving. Then Harker's cruiser screamed around the corner ahead of her. She froze. Trapped. Harker stepped out slowly, hand resting on his holster, that sick smile curling his mouth. End of the line, sweetheart. The SUV stopped. Doors opened. Men in dark suits emerged, not cops, not gangsters, something in between, something worse. Aisha's vision blurred. Rain or tears, she couldn't tell anymore. Then the night exploded. A convoy, 4 armored vehicles, matte black, no plates materialized from nowhere, engines roaring like war drums. They didn't slow. They didn't negotiate. They collided. The lead truck T-boned Harker's cruiser, sending it spinning into a lamppost with a sound like bones breaking. The other vehicles formed a perimeter, and men poured out tactical gear, weapons drawn, moving with military precision. Harker stumbled from the wreckage, reaching for his gun. He didn't make it. 2 men grabbed him, slammed him against the hood of his own car. One twisted his arm until something popped. Harker screamed. The sound was swallowed by the rain. Aisha couldn't move, couldn't breathe. A man stepped from the central vehicle. Tall, lean, perfectly tailored suit that somehow looked untouched by the chaos. Dark hair slicked back, sharp jawline, eyes like black glass. Cold, calculating, utterly devoid of mercy. Salvatore DeLuca. He walked toward her, like he owned the street, like he owned the city. Maybe he did. Aisha Thompson. His voice was quiet, almost gentle. It made her skin crawl more than Harker's threats ever had. Who? Her voice cracked. The person you texted. He stopped 3 feet away, studying her like she was a puzzle he was deciding whether to solve or discard. You're bleeding. She was. Hands, knees, probably her face. Everything hurt. Behind him, Harker was still screaming. One of Salvatore's men pressed a gun to his temple, close enough for Aisha to see the tremor in Harker's jaw, but the trigger never pulled. The screaming didn't stop because Harker died. It stopped because fear finally found its way into his throat. Please, Aisha whispered. She didn't know what she was asking for. Salvatore's expression didn't change. He shrugged off his coat and draped it over her shoulders. It was warm. It smelled like expensive cologne and gunpowder. You're safe now, he said. Then her legs gave out. He caught her before she hit the ground, lifted her, like she weighed nothing. Her head fell against his chest. His heartbeat was steady, unhurried, like violence was just another Tuesday. Clean this up, he told someone. No traces, no witnesses. Move him. Aisha tried to speak, but darkness swallowed the words. Sirens wailed in the distance. By the time they arrived, the street was empty. When Aisha woke, she was staring at a chandelier, crystal, massive, glittering like frozen starlight above her head. This wasn't a hospital. This wasn't a shelter. This was somewhere else entirely. The bed was softer than anything Aisha had ever touched. She sat up slowly, every muscle screaming. White bandages wrapped her hands. Her clothes were gone, replaced by silk pajamas that probably cost more than a month's rent. The room was enormous, all marble and dark wood. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a garden lit by hidden lights. A prison designed by someone with taste. The door opened. A woman entered 50s. Gray hair pulled into a tight bun, carrying a tray. You're awake. Good. Eat. Aisha stared at the food. Soup, bread, fruit. Her stomach twisted with hunger and suspicion. Where am I? Safe. The woman set the tray on the nightstand. Mr. DeLuca's estate. You've been asleep for 16 hours. I want to leave. The woman's expression didn't change. Eat first, then we'll see. She left before Aisha could argue. Aisha ate. She hated herself for it, but she ate every bite. 3 days passed. No one hurt her. No one questioned her. She healed in silence, surrounded by luxury and locked doors. Guards stood outside her room, polite, professional, immovable. Salvatore visited once. He sat in the chair by the window, perfectly still, watching her like a scientist observing an experiment. Why am I here? Aisha asked. Because you needed help. Bullshit. His mouth twitched. Almost a smile. You're right. Partial bullshit. You're here because keeping you alive serves my interests. What interests? Officer Harker is a problem. Your leverage. Aisha's blood went cold. You're using me as bait. No. Salvatore leaned forward. I'm using you as proof. Harker's been running dirty for years. Protection rackets, evidence tampering, trafficking. You're the witness who survived. That makes you valuable. To who? To me. To people who want Harker gone. To the system that needs a scapegoat when this goes public. Aisha's hands clenched. So I'm still a pawn. Yes. No hesitation, no apology, but a protected one. Here, you're safe. Out there, he gestured toward the window. Out there, you're dead in 48 hours. She wanted to argue. She couldn't. That night, the news broke. Aisha Thompson, missing foster child, person of interest in the assault of a police officer. Harker's people had flipped the script. Salvatore appeared in her doorway, phone in hand. He didn't say anything, just showed her the headline. Runaway teen wanted in connection with officer's brutal attack. Aisha's world tilted. They control the narrative, Salvatore said quietly. The reports, the witnesses, the evidence. Harker owns enough badges and judges to bury you alive. Then I'm already dead. No. His voice hardened. You're here. That's the difference. He turned to leave. Wait. Aisha stood, legs shaking. Why? Why save me at all? Salvatore stopped. For the first time, something human flickered across his face. I had a sister, he said. She ran from someone like Harker. She didn't make it. The door closed. Aisha sank onto the bed, staring at the chandelier. She couldn't go back. There was no back anymore. Harker didn't stay quiet. 2 days after the news broke, intel hit Salvatore's network. Harker had made contact with the Bratva. Aisha heard about it from Matteo, one of Salvatore's lieutenants. He was young, sharp-eyed, the kind of man who smiled before he pulled a trigger. Russians? Aisha asked. Worse. Russian organized crime with deep pockets and no morals. Matteo leaned against the doorframe of the library, where Aisha had been hiding. Harker's selling them information shipment routes, safe houses, names. He's trying to cripple the boss. Because of me. Because of everything. You're just the spark. The powder keg's been sitting there for years. Aisha watched through the window as black cars moved through the estate's perimeter. Salvatore's men. Always moving. Always watching. How bad is it? She asked. Matteo's smile faded. Bad enough that we're relocating assets, tightening security, preparing for a siege. A siege. Welcome to the war, princess. Salvatore confirmed it that night. They sat in his office walls lined with books, a desk that looked like it belonged in a museum, and a glass of whiskey he didn't drink. Harker's desperate, Salvatore said. Desperate men make alliances with devils. The Bratva wants my supply lines. Harker wants you. They'll trade. So I'm the target. You're one of them. He finally took a sip. But not the only one. This was always coming. You just accelerated the timeline. Aisha wrapped her arms around herself. Your sister. What was her name? Salvatore's jaw tightened. Sophia. What happened to her? She trusted the wrong cop. He promised protection. He delivered her to the men she was running from. His voice was flat, factual, like he'd bled all the emotion out years ago. They found her in the river 3 weeks later. Aisha's throat closed. I saved you because I couldn't save her, Salvatore continued. That's the truth. Not noble, not heroic. Just guilt dressed up as mercy. I'm sorry. Don't be. Guilt's useful. Keeps me sharp. Outside, headlights swept across the gardens. Salvatore stood. They're moving faster than expected. Stay close to Matteo and Enzo. Don't wander. Don't trust anyone I haven't vetted. How long? Until hours. Maybe less. He left. Aisha sat alone in the dark, listening to the sound of men preparing for war. Somewhere in the city, the Bratva sharpened their knives. The power died at 2:47 a.m. Aisha woke to silence the kind that screams danger. No hum of electricity. No distant voices. Just her heartbeat and the faint rustle of wind against glass. Then the first gunshot cracked the night open. She rolled out of bed, hit the floor, crawled toward the door. Her hands found the knob, locked from the outside. "Matteo!" she screamed. Footsteps thundered in the hallway, shouting, more gunfire closer now, echoing through marble halls like thunder in a tomb. The lock clicked. Enzo burst in, older than Matteo, scarred, moving like a man who'd survived wars before this one. "We're leaving, now." He grabbed her arm, pulled her into the hallway. Chaos. Bodies on the floor, guards, intruders, blood pooling on white marble. The chandelier in the main foyer had shattered. Glass everywhere, glittering like diamonds in the muzzle flashes. "Where's Salvatore?" Aisha gasped. "Roof. Helicopter. Move." They ran. Behind them, the stairwell exploded. Grenades, smoke, screaming. Enzo shoved her forward, turned, fired. 3 shots. Someone fell. Matteo appeared from a side passage, blood streaming from his temple. East wings gone. They breached the garage. How many? 15. Maybe 20. Russians and Harker's crew? Enzo swore. "We hold the stairwell. Get her to the roof." "You can't." "Go." Matteo grabbed Aisha, dragged her up the stairs as Enzo planted himself at the landing, weapon raised. The last thing Aisha saw was Enzo firing into the smoke, his face calm, almost peaceful. Then Matteo pulled her around the corner, and the world was just running in gunfire and the smell of burning wood. They reached the roof access. Salvatore was there, phone to his ear, coordinating something. He saw Aisha, and his expression shifted relief, then fury. "They're inside," Matteo panted. "I know." Salvatore ended the call. "Helicopter's 2 minutes out. We hold until—" The door behind them buckled. Someone was coming. Salvatore stepped in front of Aisha, gun drawn. The door exploded inward. Officer Harker stepped through the smoke. Harker looked like hell, bruised, bleeding, but still smiling that sick, twisted smile. "Aisha." Her name dripped from his mouth like poison. "You've caused me a lot of trouble." Salvatore's gun didn't waver. "Walk away, Harker." "Can't do that. See, I made a deal. Russians get DeLuca. I get the girl." Harker's eyes locked on Aisha. "Fair trade, don't you think?" "Over my corpse." "That's the idea." Movement behind Harker. A Russian enforcer, rifle raised, red laser sight painting Salvatore's chest. Aisha's world slowed. Harker lunged. The enforcer fired. Salvatore twisted, shoved Aisha aside. The bullet caught him in the shoulder, spun him, sent him crashing against the rooftop railing. "No!" Aisha screamed. Matteo fired, dropped the enforcer, but more were coming, pouring through the door. Harker grabbed Aisha, yanked her close, gun to her head. "Game over, sweetheart." Salvatore tried to stand, blood pouring from his shoulder. "Let her go." "Why?" "She's the only thing keeping me alive right now." The helicopter roared overhead, searchlight cutting through smoke. Aisha's hand closed around something cold. The enforcer's fallen rifle. She didn't think, didn't hesitate. She twisted, drove her elbow into Harker's ribs, dropped, grabbed the rifle, swung it up, and fired. The recoil slammed her back. Harker staggered, eyes wide, blood blooming across his vest. He didn't drop clean. He fought it. Pride kept him upright for half a second too long before his knees finally gave. The Russians scattered as the helicopter descended. Wind and noise and chaos. Matteo grabbed Salvatore, dragged him toward the helicopter. Aisha stood frozen, rifle shaking in her hands, staring at Harker as he collapsed. "Aisha!" Matteo screamed. "Now!" She ran. The helicopter lifted just as the roof erupted in gunfire. Aisha collapsed inside, Salvatore's blood soaking her hands, his weight heavy in her lap. His eyes found hers. "Stay awake," she whispered. He smiled, barely, bossy. Then his eyes closed. The safe house was a concrete box buried beneath a warehouse in Newark. No windows, no decoration, Just medical supplies and a steel table and Aisha's shaking hands. Matteo had tried to help. She'd shoved him away. Get out! You're not a doctor. I said get out. He left. Aisha stared at Salvatore on the table. Pale. Too still. Not dead, just close enough that the difference felt like a cruel technicality. She'd learned field medicine in foster care, patch yourself up or bleed out waiting for help that never came. She'd stitched knife wounds in bathroom mirrors, set broken bones with duct tape and prayer. But this was different. This was Salvatore. She cut away his shirt, found the entry wound, shoulder, no exit, bullet still inside. Her hands stopped shaking. She worked. Scalpel, forceps, tweezers, digging through muscle and tissue, fingers slick with blood, searching for metal. Got it. The bullet clattered into a tray. She stitched, bandaged, monitored his pulse, weak but steady. 30 hours. She didn't sleep, didn't eat, just watched him breathe, counting each rise of his chest like it was a prayer she refused to waste. On the second day, his eyes opened. Aisha. She nearly collapsed. You're awake. He tried to sit up. She pushed him down. Don't. You'll rip the stitches. You saved my life. You saved mine first. That's different. Why? He stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Because you had a choice. I didn't. Aisha's throat tightened. You always have a choice. Not with you. His voice was raw. Honest. Not anymore. She didn't know what to say to that. So she stayed. And watched over him. Like he'd watched over her. 5 days later, Salvatore could stand. They sat in the safe house's only room with furniture, a table, 2 chairs, coffee that tasted like regret. You should run, Salvatore said. Aisha looked up. What? I can get you out. New identity. Money. Canada. Maybe. Somewhere. Harker and the Bratva won't find you. You're serious? Yes. Why? Because this is my war, not yours. You didn't ask for this. Aisha set down her coffee. I didn't ask to be homeless. Didn't ask for Harker to hunt me. Didn't ask for any of it. But I'm still here. You don't have to be. Yes. She met his eyes. I do. Aisha. I'm done running. Her voice was steel. I ran my whole life. From foster homes, from cops, from everyone who tried to hurt me or use me or throw me away. I'm done. Salvatore leaned back, studying her. You know what staying means. War. Yes. Good. She didn't blink. I'm ready. For the first time since she'd met him, Salvatore smiled. A real smile. Not the cold, calculated mask. Something human. Then we fight. That night, word came through Matteo's network. Harker had vanished. No body, no traces, just gone. He's underground, Salvatore said. Regrouping, planning. And the Bratva? Same. But they'll resurface. They always do. Aisha stood at the window, watching Newark's industrial sprawl. What happens next? We prepare, train, build alliances, wait for them to make the first move. And then, Salvatore moved beside her, close enough that she could feel his warmth. Then we end this, permanently. Aisha nodded. The war was coming. But this time, she wasn't running from it. She was walking straight into the fire. 6 weeks later, the Bratva regrouped in Brighton Beach, counting losses, sharpening knives, plotting revenge. Harker disappeared into the shadows of a corrupt system that protected its own. And Salvatore DeLuca prepared his counterstrike. Aisha stood in the estate's rebuilt training facility, weapon in hand, Matteo coaching her stance. Tighter grip. Breathe. Squeeze. Don't pull. She fired. Hit center mass. Matteo grinned. You're a natural. I'm motivated. Salvatore watched from the doorway, silent, approving. She wasn't the terrified girl in the alley anymore. She was something else now. Something forged in blood and fire and survival. The men who worked for Salvatore had stopped calling her the girl. Now they called her by name. Aisha Thompson. The woman who shot a cop. The woman who saved the boss. The woman who refused to die. Salvatore found her later, alone in the library. "They're moving," he said. "Bratva's planning something. We'll know more soon. I'll be ready." He sat beside her. "Close. You've changed." "Had to." "I know." He paused. "I'm sorry for that." "Don't be." Aisha looked at him. Really looked. "You gave me something to fight for. That's more than anyone's ever done. Even if it destroys you?" "I was already destroyed." She smiled. Fierce. Unbroken. "You just gave me the tools to rebuild." Salvatore's hand found hers. She didn't pull away. Outside, the city hummed with violence, waiting to be unleashed. The wrong text had ended. The war had begun, and Aisha Thompson had become the line no one was allowed to cross.